Evangelical Christians have a long history of supporting the Republican Party. In 2016, an overwhelming number of evangelicals voted for Donald Trump, 80%. Joining me now is Reverend Dr. Franklyn Franklyn Richardson. He's the author of Witness to Grace, a testimony of favor, and the senior pastor of Grace Baptist Church in Mount Vernon, New York. Dr. Richardson, you also head the National Conference of Black Churches, as well as you chair National Action Network, my organization's board. So you deal with a lot of different aspects of the faith community, including the evangelicals. Do you feel that the evangelical community in any way, particularly those blacks, I think that we established that according to one poll, 6% of evangelicals are black. Do you see any erosion of that support for this president?
Well, you know, I wish I could say I do. I do not. I don't see erosion. As a matter of fact, I'm devastated by the fact that his conduct has not impacted their appreciation for morality that they preach of, what they speak of, that his language, his approach to what he says about people. It's amazing to me how they just give him a pass. They apparently have priorities that are other than Jesus's priorities. As a matter of fact, the Jesus that they know, I know nothing about. The Jesus that they know ignores, and I'm sure that's not all evangelicals, but those who are more vocal and leading and aligned with this president, they care more about judges than they do Jesus. And so it's a real difficult time to see the church in this position, but it's not surprising because we have seen from the beginning of this country, the church align with the oppressor. The oppressors sit on the front pew of the congregations and oppress the people. They have the model for their behavior in the scribes and the Pharisees, who Jesus said have like sepulchres. They are white on the outside, but full of dead man's bones on the inside. It is a contradiction, a heresy, what the evangelicals do when they were talking about family values, and now they can ignore all of that and sweep it under the floor and become something totally different. I really don't understand, and I don't see them backing away from their position, unfortunately.
Let me show you this. Senator Harris took aim at Vice President Pence during the debate over matters of faith and abortion. Watch this.
First of all, Joe Biden and I are both people of faith, and it's insulting to suggest that we would knock anyone for their faith. I will always fight for a woman's right to make a decision about her own body. It should be her decision and not that of Donald Trump and the Vice President, Michael Pence.
Now, Harris called out Pence for implying that those who believe in pro-choice are not religious or devout Christians. Is it time for American Christians, whether we be evangelical, Catholic, or Protestant, to debunk this narrative and to say whatever our beliefs are, that people have the right to make their own decisions and that we not impose whatever our religious beliefs on other people? That's not converting them, that's compelling them.
That's clearly where we ought to be at this moment in this discussion. I think that the discussion's got to be broader than just abortion rights. I think it has to be if you're for life, not just life in the embryo, but life on the streets after the baby's born, after the baby can't get housing, the baby can't go to jail incompletely. We can't just be about caring about an unborn and ignore the life and quality of life of those who are already born. So I think we want to stay away from that. Everybody should have their own religious choices, but they ought to recognize that we live in a country where everybody has a right to an opinion and that we operate on a consensus. And I think America's maturing in this way. I understand the statistics are over 60% of Americans affirm the current policies that are existing.
Let me ask you, in your book, you really talk a lot about overcoming odds, having grace, and being able to rise in your situation, which has been the role of the black church specifically And your journey's compelling. That was one of the reasons I wanted to give you a chance to talk about your book and your story, because it is critical in this time that we're dealing with gun violence and a lot of young people seeming to have no direction, that people understand you didn't start out as the chairman of boards and the pastor of a huge church in Westchester County. You had to overcome odds.
Without question. And I think that that's the reason why I wrote the book. I want to communicate to people who feel down and who feel that the deck is stacked against them, that in fact they can overcome. And that when we overcome, you can't see grace going forward. You can only see grace looking back. We go forward in faith, but we look back over our shoulders to see our grace of God. And most of us have a sensitivity to understand that all the good come in our lives we didn't deserve, that we have gotten blessings that are far beyond our capacity, far beyond our work, far beyond, if it weren't for the grace of God showing up in our lives and being able to do that. So I acknowledge it in the book, and I encourage young people, I encourage us all to be able to point to the grace of God in their lives. Grace is present in every person's life. It's just sometimes our vision gets cleared and we're obscure to the God's presence in our lives. So I've encouraged our people to understand that sometimes the road seems difficult, the burdens seem hard, but we can overcome if we stay focused.
Now, you entered Virginia Union College, Virginia Union University, and you had to prove yourself to even stay there. Now you're the chairman of the board. Has this administration kept its word to historic black colleges?
Well, I'm glad you brought up the black college. If it weren't for the black college, I would not be here talking to you today. I'm here because I was a student in West Philadelphia High School that was socially promoted. When I got finished, I couldn't read. They told me I wasn't college material. I flunked out of community college in Philadelphia and then went to Virginia Union, and they gave me a conditional matriculation and put me in remediation. And then they made sure that I made it forward. And I went on from there, went on to Yale, went on and earned degrees, traveled around the world. And 35 years later, I'm now chairman of the board, signing all the degrees of those who graduated.
Wow.
And you talk about this administration's role in helping black colleges. There have been, to be very honest, there's been some increase of support, financial support to black colleges under this administration, but it does not in any way make up with the terrible lack. Most historically black colleges have been treated as second-class educational institutions. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to catch up. We're 400 years behind. You take schools like in Virginia, let's take Virginia. In Virginia, you have schools that have resources. They are private schools. They have some of them have billion-dollar endowments. And Virginia Union, for instance, has been a school for 152 years, struggling since slavery. Yeah. And it's in $1 million and $34 million in endowment. So you see, it's an unplaying.
It's closing. It's got to close that gap.
It's going to take up more than one administration to fix this problem.